So hello everyone, this is going to be the fifth session, and today we are going to cover the virtual machine. So what exactly is a virtual machine and how do we, what comprises a virtual machine? In the previous sessions we have covered what is cloud and what is virtualization, and then we have done the ESX installation. After that, the previous session which we did last week was around installing the vCenter server. So we managed to install the vCenter server and we managed to add a virtual host we created last time. Now today's session is all about virtual machine, how to manage a virtual machine, and what does a virtual machine have. So let's get started. So as I was saying, we have covered all these topics so far, understanding the vCenter server PSC side and what is the vCenter server itself. But now today we are going to cover what is a virtual machine. So virtual machine is a software because it's running with like a software. It's not a physical machine, it's a virtual machine. So what does a machine need? What does a computer need to run? So it needs certain things. It needs CPU, it needs memory. So this piece of software which is running on the ESX server, it basically uses the CPU and memory from the ESX server. And of course, obviously for installing the operating system, you have a virtual disk, and for communication you have virtual networks, which is why we have virtual network adapters. And to glue them all together, we have a virtual hardware. Like we have physical hardware, we have virtual hardware here. So that basically are in different versions. So depending on which ESX we are using, the hardware version changes. Along with that, they to get performance, like on any operating system or computer or a laptop you're running, you need to have the right amount of tools, or what you call the right amount of drivers to get performance. So if you are using a enhanced graphic adapter on your computer, you need to have the drivers to support it, right? So in VMware, basically that is all covered under something called VMware tools. So that's also very important to understand. And we have a session later on where we will cover what are VMware tools, what are the benefits around it, and what are the advantages of having up-to-date tools and everything. So let's get started. So when you open a virtual machine, these are the files which you will see. So I'll explain you a little bit. Now this looks a little bit theoretical, but we'll also see it in practical side, what it is and all that. So the VMX file is the virtual machine configuration file. So this is the actual file which has all the settings. It has the information, how much CPU we have given, how much memory we have given, what are the configuration on, like how many disks it has and all that. So that's called the VMX file. Okay, and also we need to remember, if you import a virtual machine from somewhere else, to connect it back to the vCenter, you need to right click on this VMX file and add it to the inventory. So it's the actual configuration which you need to register to the vCenter as well. Okay, I know Rehan, I think this is the first time you're joining and this is getting a little bit deep dive, but this is a virtual machine. Basically all these files, when you create a virtual machine, these files get created. You don't need to worry about them. They are automatically created for you, and once they are created, what we can do is, obviously we can do operations on the virtual machine. You can power it on, power it off, you can see how it is running. So it's quite simple. So you don't need to get confused with all these file names and stuff. It's good to know, good to understand, because later on, if you are planning for going for a certification, these information will be handy, and you need to learn the terminology as you go along. That's very important as well. Okay, so some of the important files which we need to know or understand is the vSwap file, which is the swap, which is like in Windows, which we call virtual memory. It's something like that. The NVRAM, which is the memory. So the memory is actually used when we assign some memory, like we assign 4 gig to a virtual machine, then it's basically this NVRAM which basically gets assigned the memory. And also we need to understand that this basically NVRAM is also the BIOS or IFI boot configuration which is stored in this one. Now the main thing, where is the OS installed? It's called the vmdk file, which is right here, .vmdk file. So whatever name is the machine is along with that .vmdk. So if I create a machine called Win10 or Windows 10, so Windows 10 is the name of the virtual machine, and then the disk, the OS where it is installed, is called .vmdk, and it points to a flat file, which is the actual data file which grows as you increase the data. So even on your computer, you might notice that you have a C drive and a D drive, and as you're copying data or any files, your C drive basically was maybe 20 gig originally or 50 gig. Now it has grown to 150 gig or so on after a year, or after 6 months of using it. So that's all the data which you're storing on there. Now, there's a very neat concept of virtualization or VMware virtualization, where you can provision things in advance. So say for example, you want a virtual machine with a C drive of 50 gig. You don't need to assign 50 gig and allocate that 50 gig straight away. So that basically is called thin provisioning. You thin provision it, you say it's 50 gig, and when you're creating a virtual machine, you say it's thin provisioned. So what happens is, when you install an OS, maybe it takes only 4 gig. So it will only use 4 gig from your storage until you start copying more data. So maybe in a month's time you're using another 2 gig, so it will be 8 gig. So all the other storage is available for you or other virtual machines to use. Now the same concept of thin provisioning, well, it's not thin provisioning, it's called over provisioning, is applied in CPU and memory as well. So if I have a ESX server running, or virtualization machine, hypervisor running, and it has 8 gig, I can provision a VM with 4 gig memory, and I can provision another VM with a 4 gig memory, so that's 8 gig gone, right? But no, I can over provision another VM with 4 gig memory. So actually I have provisioned 12 gig memory in total. Does it make sense? The reason it is able to do that is because when you allocate the memory, the VM doesn't actually use the 4 gig straight away. It only use it when it needs it. So the hypervisor is clever enough to understand when your machine needs it, and it allocates that memory to the machine when it needs it. Okay, so let's get ahead and see what we can do. So let's start a demo now. Oh, okay. It's going to take a little bit of time because I haven't touched my lab since a week and a half now. vCenter server, let's crack on and open that. Oh, okay. Let's see. By the way, last week we didn't do any session because I was away on VMworld, and there's a few videos I have posted on VMworld which I have done. One of the interesting one was about VMware certification path. I met one of the instructor which I got training from him before. His name was Ian. So he basically gave me an exclusive on what is certifications of VMware and what is the path which you can take to start getting certified, and it's also something which is going to be interesting for you to understand because you're basically you're learning VMware, right? So if you do want to go and get certified, so have a look at that video. It's on my channel. Just going to launch another instance here with the old client, the thick client which we call. Second. It's taken longer than expected. Okay, let's do a quick setup of the, so we can always connect to the ESX host and do this, because I'm just going to show you a virtual machine. So let's connect to the ESX host. Maybe my vCenter needs a little bit of investigation what's happening. So basically I'm connecting to my ESX host now. This is the Dell Optiplex server which I desktop which I have, and I have installed what I have installed, ESX 6.5. okay, so if you see here, you can see the manufacturer is Dell, the model is Dell Optiplex 7010. So it's literally a commodity Dell server which I'm running, and I have ESX running on top of it. Okay, so what we are going to do now is we are going to create a virtual machine. Right click, and that's how simple it is. Create a virtual machine from here. Okay, so we are going to click on the host and then say create or register a virtual machine. You get options. What do you want to do? If you remember, register a existing virtual machine. This is what I was saying about the VMX file. If you already have a VM which is unregistered, you just copied it on your data stores, we can select that and register it. But over here, let's do a demo of creating a new virtual machine. Okay, select create a new virtual machine, click next. It's simple as this. So basically all you're doing here is just giving a name. Let's create a name called test VM -01. Okay, so it's asking you compatibility. So this compatibility basically means what version of ESX running are you running. So I'm running ESX server which is update 2, and then you can go down and you can see there is a selection here. So if in your environment you have a ESX server which is running on 6.0, and then you have a 6.5 and 6.7, but if in the same cluster you have host which is running 6.0, always choose the version of virtual machine compatibility with the lowest version of ESX server, because what may happen is obviously you might decide to move this VM to another host which is on a lower version of ESX, then you can't move it around. You will get error messages. So always stick to that. For our environment, we are having 6.7 and I don't have any older versions. Well, to be honest, I have got one 6.0. So let's stick it on here, and then we need to select what operating system we are installing. Now, this is a clever thing. What VMware has done is VMware has the hypervisor is ESX. It's called vSphere. So the hypervisor needs to understand the virtual machine which you are creating. What exactly are you going to install on that virtual machine? Okay, so again, obvious things, you will install either Windows or Linux, but they have now got Mac OS and other as well. So other basically refers to installing another ESX server maybe. So you can do nested ESX server. So you can install a virtual ESX server as well, which is what we did in the second session when we did this. We installed a virtual ESX server and we nested it on my physical server. So for now, let's install a Windows, say for example. Okay, and then we select an OS. So I have Windows 2019 I have, which is not here on the selection. So I can select 2016. This is why we need to, jump up and enhance or, upgrade the ESX versions. If I select ESX 6.7 update 2, I will most definitely be given an option. Oh, it's still not there. I was thinking that the newer version will allow me to select 2019. But it's still not there. But for sure, for CentOS 8, I have seen that in the newer version of ESX, it's available. So let's put this back to 6.0, select Windows and select 2016 for now. server 2016, and then click on next. Now this is the time where we are allocating the disk. So I will select the data store, which is this one, which is nearly 2 terabyte, and then we'll go next. Now is the time when we are assigning the CPU and memory. So there are a couple of things you can do. I love to enable hot add, so I'll first enable hot add on there. What that means is while the VM is running, you can increase the CPU and memory if you want to. There's no need for you to do it. So 40 gig is enough, but remember what I was saying about thin provisioning. So we'll thin provision the disk. So we'll select, instead of thick provision, thin provision. That basically means you are not going to assign 40 gig altogether, because you won't have 40 gig of data, right, straight away. So you're going to install a OS which may be, less than 10 gig. So it will only use less than 10 gig. As and when you are doing patches and you are copying data on there, then it will slowly grow, and in that way I can use the best way, or best possible way of the storage which I have. Okay, so that's thin provisioning, and then click next. So that's all it is. So you have got your adapter, network adapter here, your SCSI controllers, which basically talks to the storage. We can see that we have given it 4 gig memory, which is very less, to be honest. Let's go back and increase it a little bit. So change it to GB, and then we can assign it maybe 6 gig. Okay, and then we can say finish. So over here you can see create VM, and it's completed successfully. You can see Naz has just joined. Naz, did you see the entire process, or shall I quickly whiz through it again, because not a lot which I've missed?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can.
Yeah, no, that's fine. You carry on. I'll try and catch up if I've missed anything. That's okay.
So did you see me creating, did you catch up from the creating virtual machine, or did you join in the middle?
Yes, I saw you created the virtual machine, yes. I think you did a similar thing in a previous session as well when you were building the ES6 or something.
That's right, yeah, you attended it. So it's pretty much similar. Over here we selected Windows as opposed to other and went to ESX, yeah. So the VM we created just now is called test VM 01. Now let's quickly see what is under inside the VM. So what we are going to do is dissect it a little bit. Okay, so I'm going to go to the data store. So this is the VM, it's not powered on yet. Okay, so we are going to go to data store, and we are going to see the files of the VM. Okay, so this is what we were discussing. So test VM 01. As you can see, there's not a lot here. Yeah, there's only the flat file, vmdk file, and then a vmx file. There's nothing much really. There are only 3 files. But if you see on the slides which I was going through, I have shown that there's how many files there were. All these. Where are they then? So they will only be created automatically when you power on the virtual machine. Okay. So for now we have seen that it is vmx file. Whoops. vmx file was there, the vmdk file was there, and there was another file, right? Yeah, there's one log tracking. This is for tracking the logs, vmsd file. So let's go ahead and refresh it. Yeah, that's fine, there's nothing there. I'm going to close this now, and let's power on the virtual machine. Okay, select the virtual machine, and then we right click, power on. Okay, so it has detected that it's a Windows virtual machine. So if you launch it, so it's basically not having an OS at this point, right? So that's what it is. It's just a machine which has a hard drive connected, but it doesn't have an OS on that. Okay, let's go back and see the data, browse the data again and see what has happened here. Test VM01. There you go. Can you see a lot of files created here? This is a very important file, the log file. It keeps a track of changes happening on the virtual machine. So we have the vmx file, the vmdk file. Now these files, if you select them, you can see the size. Yeah, this is the nv file, nvram file which I was talking about. Yeah, and then we have so many other files which are created, and again these are dynamically created when you power it on. Now once they are created, they are not going to disappear. Some of them will disappear, like the change tracking file and stuff, but not all of them. Okay, so let's start with the installation. So I have got the actually, so there are two things here, guys. When you actually open a virtual machine and you click on the virtual machine, that means your focus is on the virtual machine inside the console, then your mouse is locked. You can't move it around. So you need to, well, I can move it, but in general it will be locked. So you can press Control and Alt, and then you can get your trigger back. Okay, so that's how you get it back. And this is called a web console. What we are going to open now is we are going to open another type of console. Not sure whether it will allow us to open it from here. Just 1 second, let me allow this. This is a vCenter which we were unable to open previously. Just getting runtime. I need to jump back here. vSphere local. So the next step which we have to do is mount an ISO, right? So there are certain ways to do that. So because this is a virtual machine, if I edit settings of the virtual machine, which is familiar, we were looking into this before, right? Oh, I have given only one CPU, I want two. Because I have hot add enabled, I can change it on the fly. Yeah, if you remember when I was creating it, I enabled hot add, so I can change it to 2. Because I know the OS I am going to install is going to be beefy, I will put it 4 sockets. It's 2019 we are going to install, and along with that, at the bottom over here you can see this CD drive. I can expand that and connect and say browse from ISO. Not sure whether I have it here, but let me quickly check whether I have got it here. This is Windows 10. I think this is it. Yeah, I think this is it. So let me select that. So this is one way of mounting an ISO. Because I have failed to reconfigure the virtual machine. Okay, not running an operating system that's supported. Because it's not having an OS installed, it's not supporting the configuration of CPU which I have increased, which is a good thing to understand as well, because the increase of CPU also depends on the OS which supports it. So certain versions of OS doesn't support it, so you need to be careful with that. So let's go back. Okay, so this is already switched back, and this is still showing an ISO, which means it is selected. Yeah, it is selecting that. So all we have to do now is go back, and then we just need to send a control alt. See, there you go, it has picked up the installation, and let's start the installation. So this again is a standard Windows installation, but not sure how quick it will go through, but let's wait for the files to load, and then we can see how it's going to be. So We are still logging into the vCenter. It's gone very slow. I can see that. Still not logged in so far. Might need to do a reboot. This is the vCenter, by the way. And then recently we did another vCenter installation here, right? Which is WebEx01. That's the vCenter we did last time. I think quite a few people were missing that day. I think Ubaid was there, right, when I did this vCenter installation. But the sessions which have been missed, what you can do is you can log in and check it on the YouTube channel. I have uploaded them already. I have it on a specific URL. So I'll quickly show you. I can send you the link so that it's available for you now. So if you go videos, by the way, these are some of the videos which I did on VMworld. There's a demo of ESX7, which is still open secret now, but running on a Raspberry Pi, which is really cool because it's just 40 quid device and you are running a ESX on top of it. So imagine what you can do on that. And this is the session which I was talking about, the VMware educational education track. So the sessions which we were going through, the vCenter server session is here. Cover password? No. So the vCenter server is this one and this one, these two. And ESX installation is this one. So these two sessions. So if people, for the people who have missed, I think it's a good idea to start off with the ESX installation and then these two sessions. So they are session number 3 and session 4. Session 4 is divided into two parts. One is the theory side of it and the other one is the installation side of it. Okay, so yeah, the installation is started. We will quickly select, so it's Windows Server 2019, that's right. It's English, US. We will change this to UK and click next. Install now. So again, Microsoft has different versions, so whether you want a desktop experience or you want a data center or a standard edition. So I think they have streamlined, and you know, before we had a web edition and all that, so all that is gone now. All we have are 4 options. We have data center and standard edition, and both of them are like you know, just the normal one with CLI, or you have the desktop experience, which basically means if you need a desktop you need to have that. Okay, so we are going to install the standard edition with desktop experience and then click next. So the session is going to expire, the WebEx is going to stop in 5 minutes. So does anyone have any questions, or do you want to rejoin and continue the session? So this is the 40 gig drive which we have. We just say new and apply. It's fine. So I'm going to restart the session as soon as it drops, because the WebEx is only for 40 minutes and we have like less than 5 minutes remaining now. So, and we can continue this and we can wrap it up in the next 20 minutes after we rejoin. If the session drops, I'll restart it, just to let you know, guys. So this is going to be a quick one anyway. The installation should just whiz through. Once the installation is done, you'll be able to connect. My router is configured to give a DHCP IP address. So once it picks up the IP, you'll log in, you'll be able to log in. So is there any questions, guys? We can discuss it now because we have another 2-3 minutes, or next week I think we are going to cover another topic. So this was a quick one this week, how to install a virtual machine. Does anyone have any questions, or shall we restart the session after it expires in 2-3 minutes? Okay, I'll restart the session. If for people who want to join in, they can. So this is going to be taking time. So Naz and Muhammad, do you want to join in again on, or are you guys happy, and then we can continue the next topic next week? Do you have any questions, Ubaid?
I don't have any questions. Ibrahim, is Naz here. I guess, is this the final stage of just building the OS on the machine now? Yeah.
Pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think I'm kind of okay with from here.
With the session, Ibrahim, just a quick. Ibrahim, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can.
Yeah, Ibrahim, just a quick question actually. Do you have all the recordings for the previous sessions?
I do.
Could you please share it with all the members if you can, please? Because I think Rehan has joined in today. So yeah. I think he would be interested in catching up with the previous sessions. And
yeah, I have uploaded those sessions as well, which we have done, and these are the straight away the topics which we have discussed in the past. So like starting with cloud.
Have you uploaded them on YouTube, Ibrahim?
They have been uploaded here. Yeah, these are the ones.
So this is the fifth one. Also, you have all the 4 sessions recorded.
Yeah. So this is the second one. This is the first was the introduction. So this is second, third, fourth, fifth.
So but we don't have the recording for the first one, do we?
No, but I have already covered that in these sessions as PAS and SAS and hypervisor. So if you follow these sessions, it should be it really. But
so Rehan, are you online?
What I can do is what I can do is I can send you guys the link from here.
Yeah, that would be great, Ibrahim.
I can share this, and then it will automatically start the next one after that. So if I open the chat and send it here.
Yeah, I think that'll be a good thing. Rehan, I think you can just catch up by.
Yeah, sure.
So that is what is virtualization from the beginning, really. Then yeah, I'll just share it. I can email you guys as well if you're interested with the links. Okay. Okay, start. Hi guys, thanks for joining back. So as we have seen, these are the files which basically create the virtual machine. when we boot it up, we basically see these files created. Okay, so what I'm going to do quickly is let's go back and see how the installation is happening.
No, Ibrahim, we can't see your screen, by the way. We can only see yourself.
Oh, it's funny. Hang on, let me go back. Did I not open the screen? Hang on. There you go.
Yep, that's better. Thanks.
Okay, so let's see. Yeah, that's better. Okay, so we have seen an overview here, and we have seen what is a VMX file, obviously how it is created. So there's not a lot here. When we create a virtual machine, this is all created for you beforehand. There's a reference document which basically takes you to the VMware website, which basically gives you more insight on what each file does and stuff. It's really good if you are in a mood of preparing for your exam, or you're planning for VCA certification or foundation exam. Then you should basically go through it, because there are certain questions which are asked around these files, and it could be like which file has the configuration, and there will be names like .vmdk, .vswp, .vms or .vmx. So the right answer is .vmx. You know what I mean? So those sort of questions will be there around it. So that's why we need to have a good understanding of that. But what we'll do is we'll go back and see where we are with the installation. So it's nearly 50% done. For the guys who have missed the session previously, Naz, I think you missed one of the session as well, isn't it? Which was the vCenter server installation you missed, isn't it? So
yeah, one I've missed, yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So what I'll do is I'll share this one with you. This one is for Rehan. The storage which we will be adding in. So this one, copy. So this is ESX installation. Yes. vSphere. So this is the vSphere. I think Naz, you have attended that one anyway, but just send it for reference. And the other one is this one. The vCenter one is the one which you needed, which is this one. And this is for actually. So copy that. So that's part 1, and there's another part 2 to this. Hello and welcome back. So that's the video again. So let's have a quick chat. So does anyone have any questions? I know Rehan is very new. You need to look at some of the sessions, the beginning sessions as well, which was the one I sent you. What is virtualization? So which takes you from basics. What does it mean? Why do we need it and all that? So go through that one as well.
Yeah, well, thank you.
And this is almost done here, the installation, getting ready for installation. So it's up to you guys. If you have any questions, we can continue it, or this installation will finish and we can just log into the desktop. That's about it. Or if you guys want, it's up to you, and we can look into another topic. It's up to you. Do you want to continue another topic next week? By the way, next week might be a little bit tricky, so I'll let you know beforehand whether we can continue next session or it will be week after. Does it make sense? Yeah.
Yeah, that's fine, Ibrahim. I think if it's just the installation of Windows, like we said, we should be okay, and we're good to call it a day. But yeah, I guess if you're not going to be starting a topic, then yeah, I'm happy to call it a day.
Okay then, guys, that's good. Good to know. Okay, as always, just you're in the chat as well, isn't it, Naz? Rehan, can you ask Ubaid to forward you the link for that? And if any questions, you can always drop me a line on there, and then we can have a chat. All right. Thank you very much. I'll close the session now.
Okay. Thanks.
Bye.
Thank you, Brian.